On the 1st of October 1960, Nigeria stood tall as the green and white flag was raised for the very first time. Joy swept across the land. Songs, dances, and prayers filled the air. The colonial masters were gone, and a new nation was born. But as Nigeria celebrated independence, challenges already brewed beneath the surface. The new country was vast, diverse, and filled with people from hundreds of ethnic groups. It was a land of hope, but also of fragile unity. The new government was led by Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa and President Nnamdi Azikiwe. Lagos, a busy coastal city, served as the capital. At first, there was excitement about building a modern nation, but soon, ethnic rivalries and political mistrust began to show. Each region, the North, West, and East, pushed for its own interest. Politicians were accused of corruption and election rigging. By 1966, the dream of independence had already begun to fade, and the military struck, seizing power in Nigeria's first coup. The coup brought instability. General Johnson Agi Ironsi came to power but was killed in another coup just months later. Then, General Yakubu Gowon became head of state. But by 1967, Nigeria faced its greatest test. The eastern region, led by Colonel Odumegwu Ojukwu, declared independence as the Republic of Biafra. What followed was a brutal civil war that lasted 3 years. Families were torn apart. Hunger and famine claimed lives, especially of children. By the time the war ended in 1970, over 3 million people were dead. Nigeria survived as one country, but the wounds of that war still remain in the hearts of many. After the war, Nigeria began rebuilding. Lagos was still the capital, but it was overcrowded and politically tense. Leaders believed Nigeria needed a new capital, a place at the center of the country, free from ethnic dominance. In 1976, General Murtala Muhammad announced the creation of Abuja as the new capital. The idea was completed years later under General Ibrahim Babangida, and by 1991, Abuja became the heart of Nigeria's politics and government. At the same time, Nigeria's economy was transforming. Oil had been discovered, and by the 1970s it brought unimaginable wealth. The naira, Nigeria's currency, introduced in 1973, was one of the strongest in the world. In fact, 1 naira was worth more than $1. But the oil money was not used wisely. Instead of building industries and creating jobs, leaders wasted resources on white elephant projects, grand projects that brought little benefit. When oil prices crashed in the 1980s, Nigeria's economy collapsed and unemployment grew. The naira, once a symbol of pride, lost its value. By the 1990s, Nigerians were struggling to buy basic goods, and poverty spread quickly. Through these years, the military remained in control. Gowon was removed in a coup. Murtala Muhammad, who promised change, was assassinated. Obasanjo took over and later handed power to civilians in 1979. But the return to civilian rule under President Shehu Shagari did not last. Accusations of corruption led to another coup, bringing General Muhammadu Buhari to power. Buhari's government was strict, enforcing discipline but also restricting freedom. Soon, he too was overthrown by General Ibrahim Babangida, who introduced the Structural Adjustment Program, devaluing the naira. In 1993, when Nigerians voted overwhelmingly for MKO Abiola, Babangida annulled the election, plunging the nation into chaos. Then came General Sani Abacha, a dictator whose rule was filled with fear and corruption. Billions of dollars were stolen during his years in power, money that could have changed Nigeria forever. After Abacha's sudden death in 1998, General Abdul Salami Abubakar took over and quickly transitioned the country to democracy. In 1999, Olusegun Obasanjo returned, this time as a civilian president. For many Nigerians, democracy brought hope. But democracy also brought new challenges. Leaders came and went: Yar'Adua, Goodluck Jonathan, Buhari, and now Tinubu. Each promised change, but Nigerians still face the same struggles: unemployment, corruption, and insecurity. For ordinary Nigerians, life after independence has been a test of survival. Jobs are scarce. Many young graduates leave school only to face years of unemployment. Skilled professionals, doctors, teachers, engineers, migrate abroad, searching for better opportunities. At home, inflation rises, the naira weakens, and fuel shortages affect daily life. Yet through all this, Nigerians remain resilient, known for their creativity, hard work, and unbreakable spirit. Nigeria's story is one of greatness and struggle. From independence to civil war, from oil wealth to wasted opportunities, from Lagos to Abuja, from military rulers to democracy, the journey has been long and painful. But Nigeria is more than its leaders. It is a nation of people who never give up, people who still dream of a better tomorrow. The question remains, will the giant of Africa rise again? And as we close this chapter, join us in the next story where we explore how other African nations walked their own path after independence.